Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Skippers from Hutchings Elementary. Thanks for joining me for the demonstration of my spring flower garden. You can see I have three different flowers here. One is a tulip, a daffodil, and a coneflower. Probably some flowers that you're starting to see around these days now that spring has finally sprung. I'm going to get started by drawing my stems and my leaves. So I'm going to start here in the very center by making these long wavy lines for the leaves of my tulip plant. So my other one here, I'm gonna get a little fancy. I'm gonna make it look kind of like a little hook, and I'm gonna turn this into another curve, which you can see kind of looks like an upside down banana. And then I'll add another line along there. I'm not gonna close this up completely, however, because I'm gonna add my detail of some dirt a little bit later. All right, I'm gonna come over here to the side to do my daffodil. It also has some long pointed leaves, but they're not quite as long or as wide as the leaves on my tulips. So I'm gonna make it kind of look like the big letter M. All right, I'm also leaving that one open, and then I'm gonna come over here to my coneflower. The coneflower has some kind of wavy lines, but they also come to a point, so I'm gonna let it point at the end, but add some curves along here. And I let these kind of overlap so I don't necessarily see the entire leaf. All right, I'm ready to add my stems. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add 2 lines right in the center of my leaves here. I've gotta make sure I leave enough room up here for my blossoms. So don't go up too high when you draw these lines. All right, I also think it looks kind of cool if they're not all perfectly straight. I think that makes them look kind of realistic. So I'm gonna even let that one have a tiny bit of a bend, and this one, the same thing here on my coneflower. Double lines. There we go. All right, I'm ready to start on my blossoms. So my tulip blossom is actually gonna start out with a big U shape because it's got a very round base, and then I'm gonna start closing this up for my petals. I'm gonna start at the top left and just make kind of a wavy line over to the right side of my U. Then I'm gonna close up with another petal on the right-hand side, and then I'll add a few little pointy lines in the center there to maybe make it look like there's a few more petals on the other side of my tulip. All right, I'm ready to move over here to my daffodil. I'm gonna also have another little U shape on my daffodil, but it's much smaller than my tulip. I'm gonna close this up with kind of a curvy oval shape across the top. And then I'm gonna add just a little circle and a couple lines there to make a little center detail. I'm ready to start adding my petals, which are gonna be kind of like a V shape, but instead of being super straight, I'm gonna give them a little bit of a curve going down to the point. I don't even need to go all the way around. I can just sort of add a few on each side here and let those curve and point and just fill this up as I get down here to the bottom of my stem. All right, I'm ready to move over to my coneflower. My coneflower, I'm gonna actually start with the center, and it's gonna be my small little upside down rainbow curve. And then I'm going to close it up with a little tiny bit of a curve underneath that. I'm gonna come around along the bottom now and add some long skinny U shapes for each of my petals. So I'm gonna get one on each side of my stem, and then I'll go back and I'll add 2 more on each side. So when I'm done, I'll have 3 long skinny petals peeking out on each side, and it kind of makes it look like I'm looking at that coneflower from the side. All right, my flowers are all done. I'm ready to close this up with a squiggly line across the bottom of each of my blossoms, and it kind of makes it look like my flowers are growing up out of some dirt. Then I'm gonna come up a little bit higher, add another little squiggly line across. When I get to a flower, I'm gonna stop, I'll jump over, and then I'll keep going again. This is when I get all done, is gonna make it look like the edge of my little garden here where the dirt stops. And then I'm ready to add a few little details of my little zigzag skinny lines just up and down to make it look like some grass growing along the edge of my garden. These are just real quick, kind of slanty, some skinny, some wide, some taller and smaller, but that will make it look a little bit more realistic to finish off my spring flower garden. I hope you'll give it a try and have some fun. Good luck.